Hello everyone, welcome back to my video tutorial. This time I will be drawing a bezier curve and a B spline curve so that you will be able to understand what is the difference between a bezier and a B spline. So first of all, in the previous lecture we have talked about bezier curve. So let's see bezier curve here. Now in a bezier curve, if we have three control points P1, P2, P3. All right. So when we draw a curve, we will have a curve somewhat like this. Okay, so this is a bezier curve. Now let us see more points. Suppose we have about 5 points. P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. So this is your control points. P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. When we draw a curve, it may look somewhat like this. All right, this is your bezier curve. And suppose we change the control points. Suppose we pull out P2 over here. The resultant bezier curve that we may have will be changing this way. All right. And likewise, if we pull P2 over here, this one will be your new line. And the resultant curve that we will have will somewhat look like this. Okay, so in a bezier curve, when we pull one particular control points, it has an effect on all the other curves. So this is called global. So when we pull one particular point, it affects the whole curves. Okay. Now let us see B spline curve, which stands for B spline. All right. So if we have 3 points here, likewise, previously a control points here. The output of B spline curve, and suppose we pull P2 here. The resultant curve, B spline curve, will be like this. So when there's less control points, bezier and B spline are somewhat same. All right. So the big difference between B spline and bezier curve is that if we have more control points, P1 here, 2, P3, P4, P5, now in the curve generated by these control points will be like this, somewhat same as a bezier curve. But when we pull a particular point, what will happen is, suppose we pull P2 over here. Now what the difference between this B spline and bezier curve is that in B spline, this segment will be separated. Suppose here we have 1, 2, 3 segments. One segment over here, and one segment between these two lines, another segment between these two lines. There we have 3 segments. All right. So when we have 3 segments, and when we pull a particular point, see this particular segment is between P1, P2, and P3. So this particular segment P1, P2 and P3 will change, but the segment between P2, P3 and P4, P4, P3, P4 and P5 will remain the same. So when we pull this in B spline, we will have this part will change, but from here it will remain the same. Okay, so this is called B spline, and the difference between B spline and bezier curve is that in B spline it is local control. Here in bezier we have global control. So the points, the changes of the points changes the whole curve in bezier, but in B spline the changes of a particular point does not change the whole curve. It changes the curve only on that segments. All right, here we have these segments and it changes on these segments. All right, so that is B spline curve. Okay, so that is all for today. Thank you very much.